Inside a crowded bar, Ray King sat alone, waiting. Across the street, a team of assassins closed in. One of them, Cobb, ignored an incoming call from Burke and began setting up a sniper rifle. Moments later, Anais entered and took a seat across from King. He showed her a photo of himself with a boy named Alberto. She misunderstood, thinking King wanted the child dead. Outraged, she refused. King quickly corrected her. He wasn't after the boy's life, just his location. He needed Anais's help. When he asked about a possible medical issue, she denied any knowledge. Then, without hesitation, she warned him. Killers were already outside and they were both targets. Soon, King spotted one of the assassins entering the bar and moved fast straight to the restroom. Seconds later, the killer followed. With no way out, King scribbled a message on his hand and prepared to fight. He managed to kill 2 attackers in a brutal struggle. While the chaos unfolded, Anais slipped out the front. Cobb saw her, but couldn't get a clean shot. When King emerged, more bodies lay scattered. Anais had handled the rest. But as he stepped outside, Cobb took aim. One shot. King dropped dead. The next day, Medina got a call at her office. Ray King was gone. She rushed to the hospital. When she saw his body, she asked why she'd been contacted. The officer explained King had listed her as his emergency contact. Then he revealed the final message scrawled on King's hand. Find the accountant. Meanwhile in Idaho, Wolf, inside his trailer, prepared for the Boise Romance Festival. On the phone with Justine, he learned a client had just sent payment for his last job. At the festival, Wolf drew instant attention. A group of women crowded his table, intrigued by his dating profile. An organizer took notice and asked about it. Wolf admitted he'd altered the algorithm to make himself seem taller and more charming, exactly what most attendees were looking for. But once he started speaking, his blunt honesty drove them away. One by one, the women lost interest and left. By the end of the night, Wolf sat alone, no match, no connections. Elsewhere, Medina arrived at Ray King's former home. She combed through his belongings and found a card with the name Christian Wolf. Determined to dig deeper, she rented the house. That night, she called Harbor Neuroscience Academy to ask about Wolf, but hit a wall. Nobody claimed to know him. The call was shuffled from person to person. Meanwhile, Justine was listening. She tracked the call in real time. Sensing someone was watching, Medina casually brought up King's death, then hung up. Later, as she searched through more of King's files, she uncovered a photo, Alberto's family. Meanwhile, Cobb met with Burke. Burke immediately demanded to know why Anais wasn't dead. Cobb said he never had a clear shot. Burke revealed the truth. Anais, not King, was the real target. She had disappeared years ago during a human trafficking operation. Burke had planned to sell her, but recently she reappeared, broke into one of Burke's meetings, and killed everyone but him. What disturbed him most, she didn't even recognize him, as if her past had been erased. Burke was disturbed. He had been responsible for tearing Anais's life apart, and now she was back, alive, dangerous, and unaware of who he was. That uncertainty frightened him. If her memories returned, everything could fall apart. He gave Cobb a clear order: eliminate anyone tied to her who might be a threat. Cobb didn't argue. He left immediately. Elsewhere, Medina arrived at a quiet parking lot after receiving a coded message from Justine. Moments later, Wolf appeared. Medina reminded him that she had worked on his case 8 years ago, and now she needed his help. As a favor, Wolf agreed. Together, they returned to King's house. Medina laid out the evidence King had collected. Side by side, they began sorting through the photos, trying to uncover the truth.
3 men were also shot to death inside the tavern, one struck by a car outside.
Was Ray capable of that?
No, he was not.
In Texas, Cobb carried out his mission with lethal precision. Anais's father was found dead, another loose end tied up. Back at King's home, Wolf studied the photos and filled in the missing details. Anais's family had been deported from Central America, taken a train to Mexico City, then crossed into the U.S. Her son, Alberto, would now be around 13. Then Wolf revealed her real name, Edith Sanchez. She had once worked at a pizza restaurant called Studio's Pizza, a front for human trafficking. It was their next lead. They drove to Studio's Pizza and questioned the owner, Ike. When asked about Edith, he denied everything. But Wolf could tell he was lying. He confronted Ike about his money laundering operation. Ike tried to issue a warning, but Wolf snapped his arm and dropped the security guard without hesitation.
Federal agents, stay Ike, everything's fine.
You're washing money.
Through clenched teeth, Ike gave up a name, someone connected to Edith. With the lead in hand, Wolf and Medina took off without delay. On the road, Medina, clearly fed up with Wolf's brutal approach, warned him not to resort to violence again. But Wolf didn't flinch. He suggested they might need backup, his brother, a professional killer just like him. In Berlin, Braxton, Wolf's brother, was preparing for his next job from the comfort of a hotel room. During a tense phone call with a client, he tried and failed to negotiate better pay. The offer was low, but he accepted it anyway. That night, he effortlessly tore through the guards and reached his target, a young woman. But just as the mission reached its climax, Braxton's phone rang. Wolf was calling. Wolf needed help. Braxton, irritated, dismissed him at first, but Wolf called again, this time with urgency. He needed Braxton in California within 24 hours. Annoyed, Braxton hung up and walked away, leaving the woman alive. The next night, in California, Wolf and Medina waited at a hotel. When Braxton arrived, Medina introduced herself. The moment he realized she was a federal agent, Braxton pulled Wolf aside. He didn't trust her. He was a contract killer, and working with law enforcement wasn't part of the deal. But after a tense exchange, Wolf convinced him. Reluctantly, Braxton agreed to join them. Inside the hotel room, Wolf and Braxton set up a risky plan. They hired 3 prostitutes using the meeting as a cover. Medina waited outside, unaware of the full strategy. While they waited, Braxton used the moment to poke fun at Wolf, his way of reconnecting after years apart. When the women arrived, Braxton paid them and asked one to call their employer. 2 refused, uncomfortable with the situation. They gave the money back and walked out. The 3rd agreed, if she got paid more. Wolf handed her the cash, and she made the call. It was the same contact linked to Edith, the name they got from Ike. Meanwhile, Medina got devastating news. Aeneas's father and husband had both been killed by a sniper. Moments later, a man arrived at the hotel to collect the women. Braxton acted fast. He subdued the man and threw him into the trunk of Medina's car. Worried the police would catch on, Medina tried to intervene. But Wolf had already called Justine. She hacked the city's traffic grid, turned the lights green, and diverted patrols. It worked. They slipped away without being followed, heading straight to a safe house. At Harbor Neuroscience Academy, Justine and her team of autistic students launched a high-level search for Aeneas. Medina and Wolf watched the operation remotely through a laptop as Justine connected them to the system. The team reviewed security footage from the bar and spotted Aeneas walking out. But every camera angle failed to provide a clear facial shot. Then they got lucky. One image showed her in the background of a photo taken by a nearby woman.
I got it.
I got it.
They tracked the woman's home, accessed her network, pulled the photo from her laptop, and emailed it to themselves. Using facial recognition, they scanned the image. The system flagged Aeneas for multiple killings, but no name came up. The trail went cold. Back at King's house, Medina discovered something troubling. Braxton had killed several people in King's photos. The tension exploded. Furious, Medina walked out. As she did, the man they had locked in the car trunk began yelling. Wolf and Braxton rushed to silence him. Medina turned back one last time, warning Wolf, no more tampering with traffic systems. If they did, she'd have them all arrested. Then she left without looking back. Elsewhere, Cobb waited on a rooftop, lining up a shot. Across the street, inside the building, the man Wolf and Braxton had captured was now being interrogated about the human trafficking ring. Medina stepped in, gave him a choice, named the person who trafficked Edith, and he could walk free. With no way out, the man gave in. He confessed that Edith had been hospitalized after a failed escape from the man who sold her. Just as he was about to write down the name, Burke, Cobb fired from a distance. The bullet hit its mark. The man dropped dead. Cobb vanished without a trace. Elsewhere, Wolf uncovered a hospital report about an unidentified woman admitted after an accident. He suspected it could be Aeneas. He called Medina, told her to check hospital records, then hung up. Later, Wolf and Braxton met for a drink to unwind. At the bar, a bartender approached them. Wolf ignored her, but Braxton nudged him to let his guard down. Eventually, Wolf gave in. He danced with the woman and even held her close, showing rare warmth.
Hey! I didn't be doing anything.
But the night took a turn. One of the bartender's male friends stormed over and tried to start a fight. Wolf was ready. Braxton stepped in, and together they put the threat down fast. Back in the car, Braxton saw that Wolf had gotten the woman's number and couldn't help but smirk. Meanwhile, Medina visited the hospital where the unnamed woman had been treated. A doctor showed her footage of Edith's recovery. The injuries had been severe, but a rare brain condition caused her mind to rebuild itself. She lost all memory and changed completely. Her physical strength grew rapidly. The transformation became violent. She killed a security guard and escaped. When questioned about her past, she gave no answers, only a whistle. At the same time, Justine and her team broke into the hospital's system and copied all of Edith's medical files. Elsewhere, Braxton received a contract from an unknown source. The target was Medina. Moments later, Wolf uncovered the same hit order had gone out to multiple assassins. Realizing the danger, they rushed to her home, but Edith was already there. She broke in, searching for something. Medina tried to stop her, but she never stood a chance. Edith quickly overpowered her. As she turned to leave, a framed photo on the wall caught her eye. It was her family. In an instant, memories flooded back. Burke's cruelty, the trafficking, the moment she was torn from her child. Then Wolf arrived. He tried to defuse the situation and told her the truth. Her son Alberto was alive. The shock of it all was too much. Edith ran, unable to face the past. Wolf stayed behind and gave emergency care to Medina, keeping her alive. Elsewhere, Burke got word that Medina had disrupted his plans. Enraged, he issued a direct kill order on her. He also commanded Cobb to head to Juarez, Mexico, with one mission: kill Alberto and the other children being held. No loose ends. Surprisingly, Justine had already uncovered Burke and Cobb's plan. She retrieved the intel from the phone of the man Medina had interrogated. Armed with that information, Wolf and Braxton prepared for what was coming. They loaded up and headed straight for Juarez. While they advanced, Justine and her team hacked into drone surveillance feeds to locate Cobb. Once they had his position, she sent the coordinates to Wolf and Braxton. As they moved in, Braxton cleared out several guards while Wolf stayed behind the wheel, pushing forward. Knowing the mission had been compromised, Cobb took Alberto and boarded a bus, planning to kill him during the escape. But before they could get far, Cobb spotted Braxton and opened fire. He missed. Braxton quickly regrouped, eliminated the last of Cobb's men, and joined up with Wolf. Together, the brothers launched a brutal assault, tearing through the compound in a violent shootout. In the end, everyone was dead, except Cobb. Inside the bus, Cobb aimed his gun at Alberto's head, ready to kill, but Wolf and Braxton moved in fast. Before Cobb could pull the trigger, they took him down. Alberto and the other children were rescued. Soon after, Justine forced Burke to cancel the hit on Medina. She also sent Anais the exact location of Burke's hideout. The next day, Anais found him and ended his life. Back at Harbor Neuroscience Academy, the team gathered to welcome Alberto. It was then revealed he too was a special needs child, just like the others. And with that, the story reached its end. So the moral of the story is, if your evil plan can be undone by a traumatized woman and a group of kids with Wi-Fi, maybe crime just isn't your thing.